She didn't start screaming. That's what makes this story so terrifying. She started dancing. July 14, 1518. The city of Strasbourg was already a living nightmare. Famine, disease, and a winter so cold the river had frozen solid. The people were hollowed out, pushed to the absolute brink of survival. Into this grim world, a woman named Frau Trophia stepped out of her doorway onto the wet cobblestones, and she began to move. There was no music, no festival, just the eerie sound of her feet on the stone. Witnesses said her eyes were wide, fixed on something no one else could see. Her lips moved, but no words came out, only ragged, frantic breaths since to her steps. It was as if her own body had become a machine she could no longer control. This was just the beginning of one of history's most bizarre and frightening events. She danced for 6 hours straight, through the heat of the afternoon and into the night. By the third day, the skin on her feet was raw, her calf muscles tearing with every step, but she could not stop. Her husband tried to restrain her, but she twisted away, her legs moving with a will of their own. By day 4, her heart rate was at a dangerous, marathon-like level. What started as a personal tragedy was about to become a citywide catastrophe. Another woman saw her, and then she joined the dance. Within just 1 week, this bizarre madness had spread to 34 people, 34 men, women, and even children, all lurching and spinning through the streets in the sweltering July heat, trapped in some agonizing, invisible rhythm. The city council completely panicked. They sent for physicians who examined the dancers, checking their pulses and their sweat-soaked skin. They ruled out anything supernatural, no demons, no curses. Instead, the doctors declared it a natural disease caused by an excess of hot blood, and their prescribed cure. It sounds insane to us today, but they prescribed more dancing. The council believed forcing them to dance would burn the hot blood right out of their systems. So they cleared the marketplace, built a massive wooden stage, and even hired musicians to play drums and lutes day and night, essentially giving the plague its own soundtrack. Imagine watching your neighbors, people you've known for years, being herded onto a stage. The music pumping into the square wasn't calming them down. It was making them move faster, harder. The city had just made a fatal mistake. We dive into bizarre, unsolved historical nightmares like this every week on Storyhaven. If you're fascinated by the dark corners of history, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next one. Because what the city did next turned a medical mistake into a massacre. By the end of July, it wasn't 34 people, it was over 100. The stage hadn't cured them. It acted as an invitation. The musicians, terrified, were forced to keep playing as they watched the dancers below them begin to collapse, fall to the wood, limbs twitching, dragged to the edge by the crowd, only to rise hours later and return to the floor. The city of Strasbourg had fed the fire, and the worst was still to come. August 1518, the month the city of Strasbourg completely lost its mind. By the time this strange plague reached its terrifying peak, historians estimate that up to 400 people were simultaneously caught in its grip. They were riding, lurching, and stumbling through streets they no longer recognized, trapped inside bodies that had stopped belonging to them. In the first few weeks, the dancers still had some flicker of awareness. Witnesses described them reaching out to bystanders, weeping as their feet refused to stop moving. They were conscious prisoners inside their own suffering. But by August, the terror faded into severe physical collapse. The constant exertion caused their muscles to literally break down, poisoning their blood and clogging their kidneys. They were experiencing intense pain radiating through every muscle, their bodies turning against themselves from the inside. And then their hearts began to fail. Dancers began dropping dead. Men and women pushed beyond every physiological limit, their hearts simply stopping, death by dancing. And as the fatalities climbed daily, the secular explanations crumbled. The city council abandoned their hot blood theory. Into that vacuum rushed the terrifying medieval answer to the unexplainable, the supernatural. They believed they were cursed by Saint Vitus. The council banned public dancing, tore down the stage, and loaded the worst afflicted survivors onto wooden carts, sending them off to a mountaintop shrine to pray for salvation. And then, as inexplicably as it had begun, it started to stop. By September of 1518, the dancing plague of Strasbourg burned through its fuel and went dark. The survivors quietly absorbed back into a city that desperately needed to forget. Modern science offers two chilling answers. The first is agate poisoning, a dark fungus that grows on wet rye grain during severe weather conditions exactly like those Strasbourg had endured. Ergotism causes violent seizures, spasms, and hallucinations. It's essentially a natural, highly toxic form of LSD. It's a clean, rational theory, but many modern historians reject it because ergot poisoning isn't contagious. It doesn't respond to music, and it doesn't spread through a crowd like a social contagion. Ergot doesn't explain how people joined in after watching others. The second theory is even darker, a mass system failure. Strasbourg was a city pushed to the absolute edge by harsh weather and extreme hunger. When a whole population is put under that much pressure, the human brain can literally glitch, causing massive, uncontrollable physical reactions across hundreds of people. For our Trofeo was just the spark. The exhausted people of Strasbourg subconsciously cut the fine. It wasn't a choice. It was the human nervous system throwing a massive error code when it simply had no other way out. We like to think our modern technology makes us immune to this, but documented cases of these bizarre mass trances are still happening today. In modern schools and towns that thought they were completely normal, the music in Strasbourg stopped 500 years ago, but the biological glitch that caused it, it's still waiting. Strasbourg, 1518, 34 dancers, then 400, then silence.